James Brady. Millard Fuller. David Hamburg. John Johnson. Eugene Lang. Jan Novak. Antonia Pantoja. Ginetta Sagan. Accepting for Morris Udall is his son, Mark Udall. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the White House. It's a great pleasure for Hillary and for me to welcome all of you here, but especially our distinguished honorees and their families, members of Congress who are here, Senator Lugar, Congresswoman Collins, Congressman Conyers, Congressman Dellums, Secretary Christopher, Secretary Shalala, and Secretary Cisneros. We are here to award the highest honor our nation can bestow on a citizen, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. President Harry Truman established these awards as a tribute to those who helped to win the fight for democracy in World War II. President Kennedy elevated the medals to honor contributions by citizens to all aspects of American life. Although we confer these medals today on worthy individuals, we recognize even more than individual achievement. We honor the American values that unite us as a people: opportunity and responsibility, a community in which all have a part, determination, dedication, and loyalty, faith, courage, and country. We are honoring renewed faith in the freedom that has brought this nation this far and the freedom that will sustain us into the next century. William Faulkner once said that we must be free not because we claim freedom, but because we practice it. The 11 men and women we honor today have raised the practice of freedom to new heights. I would like to introduce each of them to you now. As the Archbishop of Chicago, Joseph Cardinal Bernardin is one of our nation's most beloved men and one of Catholicism's great leaders. When others have pulled people apart, Cardinal Bernardin has sought common ground. In a time of transition in his church, his community, his nation, and the world, he has held fast to his mission to bring out the best in humanity. and to bring people together. Throughout his career, he has fought tirelessly against social injustice, poverty, and ignorance. Without question, he is both a remarkable man of God and a man of the people. 15 years ago, James Brady was at President Reagan's side when a would-be assassin nearly killed them both with a handgun he had purchased at a gun shop. But Jim Brady is living proof that courage and determination were stronger than the assassin's bullet. Since that day, Jim and his wonderful wife, Sarah, who is with us today, have waged a moral and political battle to save lives and keep handguns out of the hands of criminals. His life is a testament to bravery, and every American family and every American child is safer because of it. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that Millard Fuller has literally revolutionized the concept of philanthropy. 20 years ago, he founded Habitat for Humanity to provide decent homes for disadvantaged people. To fund his plan, he didn't ask people for their money. Instead, he asked for the sweat of their brows. In return, he gave them something no tax deduction ever could: tangible proof that they had improved someone else's life with a home. Hillary, the Vice President, Tipper, and I, like so many Americans, have all swung hammers for Habitat for Humanity. And I was honored to sign a law passed earlier this year to provide the first federal support for land and infrastructure for Habitat. It's an interesting testament to Millard, to his wife Linda, to all the wonderful people at Habitat, that the three people who testified in favor of the law were Millard Fuller, Henry Cisneros, and Newt Gingrich. They did a good job at bringing America together, and we are all the beneficiaries of Millard Fuller's vision. Physician, scientist, and educator, David Hamburg has devoted his life to understanding human behavior, preventing violent conflict, and improving the health and well-being of our children. At Stanford, he did pioneering work in the biology of mental illness and went to Tanzania to rescue 4 biology students who had been kidnapped there. He has worked to avoid all kinds of violent conflict, from nuclear war to ethnic strife. He has used his presidency of the influential Carnegie Corporation to support efforts for better parenting, strong families, and stronger childhoods, focusing especially on early childhood and adolescence. He is a truly remarkable man and a genuinely effective humanitarian. 10 years ago, I had the honor of recognizing John Johnson for his contributions as a native of our native state, Arkansas. John rose from poverty in Arkansas and Illinois to become one of the world's greatest pioneers in media, founding the landmark magazines Ebony and Jet. He gave African Americans a voice and a face. In his words, a new sense of somebodyness, of who they were and what they could do, at a time when they were virtually invisible in mainstream American culture. A humble man, despite becoming the most influential African American publisher in history, he continues to inspire young African Americans to succeed against the odds and to take advantage of their opportunities. Speaking of opportunity, hardly anyone has ever done more personally to give people who didn't have it opportunity than Eugene Lang. In 1981, he made a simple promise to pay the college tuition of every student from his East Harlem alma mater who graduated from high school and wanted to go to college. Since then, his I Have a Dream Foundation has opened the doors of college for thousands of young people who seized the opportunity he offered. He has helped to make the most of their God-given abilities. We are all the beneficiaries of Eugene Lang's innovative vision, and it is a great tribute to him that since 1981, other philanthropists, many state governments, and now I hope our national government have joined him in trying to guarantee the dream of a college education to all people. He began it, and we're all in his debt. Jan Novak has dedicated his life to the fight for freedom. In World War II, he risked everything to carry vital information to the Allies. After the Nazis' defeat, he saw his native Poland once again in the grip of oppression, and he vowed to break it. For 25 years, he was a dominant voice in Radio Free Europe, the great beacon of hope that brought so many people through the dark hours of communism. He continued to fight until the day he saw freedom triumph over tyranny. In America, his commitment to the ideal of democracy continues to inspire us all, and I can tell you that his inspiration is still felt in his native Poland, where the people will never forget what he did and what he stood for. Paz e respecto, peace and respect. These are the values that define the life and work of Antonia Pantoja. Her efforts to create educational and economic opportunity for all Puerto Ricans have made her the most respected and beloved figure in the Puerto Rican community. Through Aspira, the educational program she helped to found 35 years ago, she still dares young Puerto Ricans to dream and to work to achieve their dreams. Her dedication to her people, and therefore her contribution to our country, is unsurpassed. When Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat to a white man on a Montgomery, Alabama bus 40 years ago, she ignited the single most significant social movement in American history. When she sat down on the bus, she stood up for the American ideals of equality and justice and demanded that the rest of us do the same. When our descendants look back in time to trace the fight for freedom, Rosa Parks will stand among our nation's greatest patriots, the legendary figures whose courage sustained us and pushed us forward. She is, and continues to be, a national treasure. Ginetta Sagan's name is synonymous with the fight for human rights around the world. In World War II, she paid dearly for her dedication to the cause of freedom. For more than a year, she was imprisoned and tortured, but not broken. Instead, she devoted her life after the war to saving others from the ordeal she had endured. Through her tireless work with Amnesty International and her own Aurora Foundation, she has drawn the world's attention to the plight of prisoners of conscience and to their families. Amnesty International has created a fund named in her honor, designed to help stop torture and especially to stop the persecution of women and their children. She represents to all the triumph of the human spirit over tyranny. Morris Udall represents everything a lawmaker should be: dedicated to seeking common ground, committed to improving the political process, and singularly possessed, as no one in my adult lifetime has been, of the one trait no member of Congress should be without: an extraordinary sense of humor. Mo was fond of quoting Will Rogers, who once advised us that in life you ought to get a few laughs and do the best you can. Well, he got a lot of laughs, and he did better than most. He set a standard few can match by his passionate commitment to preserve our national resources and to leave our children a safer environment. His life is an inspiration and more. His work is a gift to all Americans, and we are especially grateful that his son could be with us today. Now it is my great honor and privilege to present to each of you the Presidential Medal of Freedom. With great respect for your work, your dedication, the example you have set for all your fellow Americans. I'd ask now the military aide to read the citations.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the presentation of the 1996 Presidential Medal of Freedom. Joseph Cardinal Bernardin. For almost 4 decades, Joseph Cardinal Bernardin has been an eloquent advocate for justice, peace, and human dignity. With a common touch and a passion for social justice, he has lived a life of Christian virtue, ministering to the faithful, giving comfort to the sick, bringing together those who disagree, and dedicating himself to the pursuit of the common good. A leader, a pastor, a gentleman, Joseph Cardinal Bernardin has spent a lifetime teaching us lessons in courage, humility, and grace. James Scott Brady. James Brady came to national prominence as a respected and popular press secretary for President Ronald Reagan. Cut down by a would-be assassin's bullet after less than 3 months on the job, he fought back, pulled through, and went on to assume a new public role as a courageous, stubborn, and effective advocate against gun violence. Families and communities all across America are safer today because of James Brady's refusal to give up or give in. With an indomitable spirit and an unflagging thumbs-up optimism, James Brady has demonstrated the capacity to triumph over personal hardship and achieve his cherished goals. Millard D. Fuller, guided by his belief that true faith must be acted out, not just talked about, Millard Fuller has devoted his enormous energy and optimism to the mission of building affordable housing for low-income families. 20 years ago, he founded Habitat for Humanity, a distinctively American grassroots organization that has built over 50,000 homes across the country and around the world. Providing a hand up, not a handout, Habitat builds good houses and good citizens, requiring those it helps to invest not only their dollars, but their sweat equity. With equal parts of vision, hard work, and inspiration, Millard Fuller is living his faith and helping thousands of families to realize their dreams. David Allen Hamburg. As a physician, scientist, and educator, David Hamburg has devoted a boundless energy and deep intelligence to understanding human behavior, preventing violent conflict, and improving the health and well-being of our children. From Stanford to the Institute of Medicine and the Carnegie Corporation, he has worked to strengthen American families by teaching us about the challenges and difficulties of raising children in a rapidly transforming world. Known for emphasizing the importance of early childhood and early adolescence, he has stressed the need for families, schools, and communities to work together in our children's interests. In a life of wisdom, courage, and purpose, David Hamburg has exemplified the finest tradition of humane social engagement. John H. Johnson, having grown up poor in Arkansas and Chicago, relying on nothing but his wits, his nerve, and $500 borrowed on his mother's furniture, John Johnson founded Ebony and Jet and built a publishing empire. At a time when African Americans faced a world of unfriendly stereotypes, he committed himself to building a new sense of self-respect in the Black community, battling the old images with positive stories of Black achievement and success. Called the most influential publisher in African American history, John Johnson has lived a life inspired by his own advice to act with responsible daring and never to accept failure. Eugene M. Lang. In 1981, Eugene Lang acted on the impulse of a simple idea, that if you instill in underprivileged children the belief that diligent effort will be rewarded, they will succeed. Adopting the 6th grade class of his alma mater in East Harlem, he promised college scholarships to every child who graduated from high school, and a remarkable 75% responded. On the strength of that experience, he founded I Have a Dream Foundation, and for the past decade, he has provided mentoring and financial assistance to help disadvantaged youth get to college. Eugene Lang's insight into the power of providing hope for a better future has inspired thousands of young people to have a dream and pursue it. Jan Novak. In the long twilight struggle against totalitarianism, the dream of democracy was kept alive by the brave men and women who answered freedom's call in the face of danger. Jan Novak stands proud among such heroes: freedom fighter, underground courier, trusted advisor. In the turbulence of World War II, he risked his life in the Polish underground, traveling between Nazi-occupied Warsaw and London to inform Allied leaders of Poland's resistance to tyranny. Later, directing Radio Free Europe's Polish service, he fanned the flame of freedom for millions of Poles. Today, we all owe a debt of gratitude to those like Jan Novak who risked everything in the defense of liberty. Antonia Pantoja. Believing that hard work can overcome any obstacle, Dr. Pantoja has challenged generations of her fellow Puerto Ricans to dare to dream. Starting out in America as a factory worker, she went on to earn a college degree and graduate degrees in social work, and dedicated her life to bringing educational and economic opportunities to the Puerto Rican community. Through organizations like the Aspera Club, which she founded in 1961, she has inspired and assisted young Puerto Ricans to continue their education, pursue careers, and retain a sense of community identity. Today, we honor Dr. Pantoja for her message of empowerment and her committed efforts to turn dreams into reality. Ginetta Sagan. Ginetta Sagan has devoted her life to fighting for the freedom of political prisoners around the world. As a young woman in her native Italy, she led hundreds of World War II refugees to the safety of Switzerland, only to be imprisoned and tortured by Mussolini's Black Brigade. After a daring rescue, she made her way to the United States, where she founded the first West Coast chapter of Amnesty International and helped build the organization into an international force on behalf of prisoners of conscience. For her courage in speaking out on behalf of those wrongly imprisoned, Ginetta Sagan has earned an honored place in the hearts of all who love liberty. Morris K. Udall. During a remarkable 30-year career, Morris Udall was a quiet giant of Congress. Warm, funny, and intelligent, he was truly a man of the center who forged consensus by listening to others and by reasoned argument. His landmark achievements, such as reforming campaign finance, preserving our forests, safeguarding the Alaskan wilderness, and defending the rights of Native Americans, were important indeed. But he distinguished himself above all as a man to whom others, leaders, would turn for judgment, skill, and wisdom. Mo Udall is truly a man for all seasons and a role model for what is best in American democracy. Accepting for Mr. Udall is his son, Mark Udall.
Give them all a hand.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the Presidential Medal of Freedom Award ceremony.
Thank you.
Please remain seated while the 1996 awardees are escorted out of the East Room.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going in for a reception now. But I wanted to say one thing. Rosa Parks was delayed in Detroit, just as many of these people were delayed trying to get here because of the traffic. So we will have another time to give her her medal. We're sorry she couldn't be here. We're delighted everyone else is here. Please come in for the reception. Thank you.